Hey, chillers. It's Tuesday. I'm Amber, and this is another episode of True Crime and Chill, Urban Legends style. Happy October. It's time for all things spooky and orange and pumpkin. Yes, it's October again. Alex is still out for the time being, but we do plan to try and have her join us next week. In the meantime, I'm bringing you another set from our Urban Legend series, this time from Delaware. So I don't know about you, but I think bullying, well, to be frank, it sucks. I dislike being bullied. I dislike seeing others hurting because they're being bullied. There is a line between playful fun and just outright bullying and being mean. So this week touches on that with the ghost of Samuel Chew. Now, as the story goes, once upon a time, there was a man named Samuel Chew in Dover's Green, Delaware. Mr. Chew was the chief justice in the town, and people used to make fun of him for his name. They would see him and pretend to sneeze or pretend that they were chewing. Can you imagine being tormented for your name every day? You walk down the street and people mimic a sneeze or pretend to be chewing on something, usually loudly. I know that would make me really upset, but being the chief justice and still having an entire town of Quakers make fun of you, that's harsh. So it was no surprise that when Chief Justice Samuel Chew died in 1743, he started haunting the local townspeople. That's right. The first person to report being haunted was farmer David Hendricks. He was the first to see the apparition of Dr. Chew that reported it anyway. He said Dr. Chew was dressed in his judge's robe and the white powdered wig. It was on a cold autumn night when Mr. Chew's specter made his first appearance. The farmer was on his way to the tavern, where most of the farmers congregated after working in the fields. In a beam of moonlight, Mr. Chew's ghost rose up. The dark robes that he wore in life now fluttered in the night wind, and his wig glistened brightly in the moonlight. Mr. Hendricks was already shivering and terrified, and then to his horror, he began sneezing. The ghost, for obvious reasons, apparently didn't like that at all, and it's reported the ghost started chasing Mr. Hendricks as he ran home. He brought home the story of his terrifying experience to his wife, who the next morning told their neighbor about what happened. And of course, they told somebody, and they told two friends, and they told two friends, and they told two friends. And pretty soon it made its way all through the town. And then about a year later, the episode was finally forgotten until Peter Droongoggle, the miller, was on his way home in a storm. The wind was blowing strongly, and rain and hail were striking him. His lantern was blown away by the wind, so he bent down to retrieve it, and suddenly there appeared before him the ghost of Dr. Chew himself. Peter recalled making fun of the judge once and immediately regretted it. His complexion became pale, he dropped his lantern, and he ran away screaming. Now, there have been other stories about the ghost of Mr. Chew. Back then, and even today, they say he's not a particularly mean-spirited ghost, but there are sightings of him sitting under the poplar tree, wandering the courthouse, and generally just creeping out the residents of Dover. There's tales of him pulling on men's coattails and giving women a chilled, icy feeling. So, with these stories circulating Dover, people began to stay inside after dark, causing the taverns to be empty except for the owners. This continued night after night after night. And pretty soon the tavern owners started to get worried because how were they going to pay their bills if they have no patrons, right? So one of the owners, Mistress Van Loon, called a town meeting and said to everyone, and this is quoted, "Our town was once a cheerful place filled with happy, satisfied people. We have all worked together side by side, each to his own talents, to make our town a haven of prosperity and safety for all. But now the ghost of our late Justice Chew roams the streets, frightening all of us. I have thought long and hard of how we might rid ourselves of this unwelcome spirit, and I think there may be a way. I have heard it said that in England, a ghost who roams can be put to rest by giving it a nice burial. She then explained that they had to have another burial for him and a burial of an empty coffin. The townspeople agreed and gave Dr. Chu's ghost a funeral to top all funerals in Dover's Green, laying his spirit to rest in an ornate grave. Even if he appeared to be satisfied, he's still known to torment those who make fun of him by sneezing when they hear his name. Now, I don't know about you. This is not a solution I have ever heard, and I even tried doing some research on it, but I didn't find anything. I have never heard about doing a funeral for a ghost in order to put it to rest. Possibly it comes from like exorcisms and that sort of thing, but reality, I've never heard this. So it's possible that people were just making up the ghost in their head or making the ghost out to be something bigger than it really was. And so this lady was like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a placebo effect here, and we're just going to do this thing that I say is a solution, and hopefully it's going to work, and you guys will stop seeing the ghost of Mr. Chu, right? Possibly. I don't really know. Again, I tried to research it, and I did not find a single thing that said anything about having a funeral service for a ghost, except in this instance. Now, it's only said that at this point, Mr. Chu shows up when people make fun of him. So if you're ever in the area of Dover, I don't recommend sneezing when you hear Mr. Chu's name. Or maybe you do. Find out if it's true. It's up to you.
Thank you for listening to True Crime and Chill. For more information, including case notes, photos, and sources, please visit our website at truecrimeandchill.com. You can also stay connected with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Look for new episodes from us each week on Tuesday.